What's up, guys? I'm super thankful you guys showed up today. I'm Will Grant, for those of you guys that don't know, and we're here with Dr. Edwin Adams. I'm super stoked to be here on this Thursday, as Edwin Adams likes to say, and we're going to be talking about all things to help us grow as individuals, to improve our health for ourselves, for our family, for our friends, for our community, for our species, and for this world. So I'm super grateful for everyone that showed up today, because, the stronger we can be as individuals, the stronger we can be as a species and as a planet. And I'm just thankful that there's other people in this world that are here looking and searching for growth and for health, and just to be our best selves, to create our best world.
That's awesome, Will. Happy Thursday, brother. Good to be here.
That was my first intro, by the way. So
that
let me
was your
know
first
how I
intro.
did.
You killed it. You absolutely killed it. Well done.
Edwin challenged me right before we got on screen. He said, "You're doing the intro today." Okay. So let me know how I did in the comments below. And another thing that I really like to see is, if you're watching live on Facebook, on Zoom, or on YouTube, put in the comments below where you're watching from, because that is one of the most interesting things to me, and I feel like one of the coolest things, that we can connect with people all over the world. So put in, the state, the city, the region, the country that you're watching from. If you're on Zoom, nice. Okay, I'm starting to see some come in already. So yeah, let us know where you're coming from around the world.
Awesome. Well, Will, I'm in Louisiana. Where the heck are you?
I'm in Tampa Bay, Florida, where it's warm and wet. We're in the midst of our summer, so everything is looking extremely lush in the environment. Everything is just super thick from the green growth, from the air. It's just nice and humid. It's a kind of subtropical but tropical climate, so it's nice and warm.
Well, I know you have ridden a BMX bike here in Louisiana, but this is truly the hottest part of the country right now. You walk outside, it's like swimming. It is so thick with humidity. So things are green and lush, but they die really fast here.
Yeah.
Really fast. So, hey, we've got a lot of people joining in. Brian, Cristiano, Gary, Ian, Jenny, Jim. Thanks for being here live. This is awesome.
Yeah, that is super awesome. I think that's super cool. And like I said, put in the comments below of where you're coming from. And also, if you guys have any questions throughout this chat, because that is one of the beautiful things about this concept, is that we're able to share ideas and learn from each other. So if you have any questions or even comments, we have that chat box below, right, Edwin? Explain how that works.
Well, we've got a Q&A. Actually, is the best way for me to manage those. There's a Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Go ahead and post your question in there. If you are watching the replay of either Facebook Live, ask your question there. I know Will and I will both go look at those comments, and also on YouTube as well. So whatever outlet is, please comment. We've got somebody from Germany on Facebook. Will?
Oh, nice. That's so cool.
We've gone global. Can you believe that? Thank you, Germany, for being here.
That's cool. And we got someone from Central Texas. Yeehaw.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, Will, I've got a burning question for you. I know during this pandemic, we've all had some time to kind of be at our house, be kind of in solitude. What are you reading right now? I'm really captivated by your choice of library books.
Yeah, I'm actually currently reading probably one of the most mind-blowing books I've ever read, and it's called Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. And it's super crazy. Honestly, it's really amazing to see what we're truly capable of, and how much that we are really able to connect to the different systems and energy systems inside our body to create the life that we want to create, and create the being that we want to be. So many of us seem to just not have control over our thoughts, or over our health, or over our being. So our outside external circumstances tend to dictate our health, tend to dictate our happiness, tend to dictate where we are. And then this book is just really good at, one, teaching you how to come into the present moment, to realize that most of our negative emotions and our anxiety, and even a lot of our health issues, are things that are stuck in the past, or these things that we get anxious about over the future. It's really just a lack of being in the present moment, and the more that, and every sage and mystic and philosopher and even, all the top doctors now, they're talking about the present moment, and it just keeps coming up. And that's because that is our ultimate state of being, when we're not judging our present moment by these past circumstances. And that's what a lot of our health issues are, is just like this energy being captured, just stuck inside of our, our survival centers that we have to release and let go, to truly be in that present moment and to embrace our health. And when we can really dip into that present moment, that's when our possibilities and our opportunities are endless. That's when we're able to really create the world and the life and the health that we're wanting to be, is in that present moment, not when we're stuck in the past or when we're stressing over the future. I think it's really beneficial to have, an idea or an intention of what we're working towards, but we really have to spend most of our attention just where we are right now, and observing and learning, not only from ourselves, but from our environment.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, Will. I have heard attention called these days the new currency, because
Yeah.
everything is trying to grab our attention, particularly our technology, our social media, the media, you name it. Attention is something that we often spend as a currency externally. And if we're not careful, that which we bring in from that attention connection
Yeah.
can cause some damage. I think, is that epigenetics, as you understand
Yeah.
it, is that we remember that data, that information that comes in is held. And if we don't do something in the present to correct it,
Yeah.
that leads to breakdown, right?
And that's a really, it reminded me of a really powerful quote that I kept reading in that book from Joe Dispenza, is where our attention goes, our energy flows, right? And this is so, so true. And so many of us, we seem to have little control over our attention, because if it's our kids, our friends, the TV, our phone, Instagram, Facebook, our jobs, our health, all these things are just taking our attention everywhere, and we have no control over our attention, which gives us no control over our energy. But when we can step above our external environment and take control over our internal environment, then that's when we can direct our focus, direct our attention towards the things that we truly care about, and towards the things that are really going to help us, and towards the things that are really going to help us grow and evolve and really contribute not only to our own lives, but to the closest people to us.
And
So
that's
where
also
our,
the healing energy as well. If we have carried that other story, that external story within ourselves for so long that it's actually created some harm with us, the only way to reprogram our genes is to focus in the present. And I
yeah,
think that's a critical component of the mastery of epigenetics, is realize, believe it or not, you are in control still.
yeah, we have, and that's one of my main intentions of everything that I create, is to hopes that I can give us back the control that we've already had. Like, we have so much more control over our health, our happiness, and our strength than what our external environment makes us really believe, from the doctors and the schools and all this stuff that is telling us that we just have these innate, and we're either going to get sick or we're not going to get sick. We're either born rich or we're not born rich, or all these things. Like, we have control, and based on what we think and what we feel and what we do creates our reality, and then on top of that, on the other aspect of it, we are our environment as well, to where, like, we become an average of the top 5 people that we surround ourselves with, So, like, if you're surrounded by people with really low vibrations and really low energy, and that are sick and that are not taking care of themselves, like, if they're eating really bad processed junk food, never really eating whole foods, they create this energy, they create this being that is a lower vibration that brings us down. And in the same way, that is, if we surround ourselves with extremely healthy, happy, and strong people, we become healthier, happier, and strong. So it's like, a lot of us tend to not really have control who we live with, or, you know, who's in our direct environment. And we're looking at, say, our mothers or our fathers or our brothers or sisters or even our spouses or our kids and thinking like, you know, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you take care of your health? Or why don't you, exercise? Or why don't you do these positive things? But we have little control over our environment any more than what we have control over ourselves. Most of our control is what we do. And if we really want to improve our environment, and if we really want to help out the people around us, if it's our mother, our father, our, whoever we live with, the most selfless thing that we could do is to help out ourselves and to grow ourselves. Because like I said, if we become an average of the top 5 people that we surround ourselves with, if we want to help out, the ones around us, we're not going to help them by saying, hey, you got to do your breathing, or you got to do your meditation, or you got to exercise, because that just becomes stressful, and that just becomes one more thing that they got to do. But if you just block that out and take care of your own health and take care of your own happiness, that's when they start to take notice, and your energy and your vibration is raising, and that's going to naturally, organically raise their vibration. And then they're going to start to become curious about, the good habits that you're starting to do in your life, because they're seeing the results. Nobody's going to just pick up this habit that is uncomfortable unless they see some result or see something beneficial that is going on, unless, there is the case where if someone is just in a really bad situation, they're willing to try anything, then if you're in that position, that is an opportunity. If you feel like you got nothing going for you, that means that you don't have anything to lose, so that's a great opportunity to start just taking care of one thing at a time. Start to improve the first 10 minutes of your day. Start to improve the first 20 minutes of your day. And that's going to give the snowballing effect to where your day is going to go a little bit better. You're going to feel a little bit happier. And that's going to start bringing up, the people around you.
Yeah, Will, I love what you said about vibration and energy. During my medical training, I did not give enough respect or credence to just how powerful our electrical system is and what kind of influence that has out in the world. I mean, we are chemical and electrical beings. So clearly we're going to have a charge that we either transfer, we hold on to, we share. And it's just really interesting when you talk about the energy shared between the 5 people that you were closest to. Man, if you were driving a Tesla, you would pay attention to your energy level, right? Or if you're on your iPhone, you're going to pay attention to that battery level because you want longevity from both of those. But I'm not convinced we do that enough with our own batteries and make sure we stay charged with good chargers around us.
Yeah, it's because we don't see it. We can feel it, but this modern day kind of diminishes our feelings, right? But we all have this electromagnetic field around us, that we're not able to see, but I promise you felt it before. I know you've been in a room where someone's just so happy and so up and so lifted. You're like, what's going on? You feel that. And then in the same way, if somebody walks in the room and they don't have to say a word, if they don't even have to look at you, but if they're really angry or really frustrated, you feel that in the room, and that is just an extreme example. But the more present we are in our being, and the more observational that we can be, the more that we can really see and feel the energies of the people around us, and even more importantly, feel our own energy. Because that's probably the most important thing, is first taking control of our own energy, of just being mindful or being aware of if we're getting frustrated, if we're getting stressed, if we're in these certain states. We have the ability to pick whatever mood we want to be in, right? So Edwin, if you could pick whatever mood you could be in all day, what would it be?
Joy
And gratitude and love and all of these things. We can be in those, but it's a practice to be in those, right? And then the more that you're in that love state, the more you can be in that love state. And the more joyful you are, the more joyful you'll be. So for example, like if you notice yourself just getting stressed over external circumstances that you have no control over, if it's something on the news, if it's maybe somebody in your family is getting sick, right? And that's something that we have to just be mindful and be aware of, where okay, I'm getting stressed out. I'm getting frustrated of all these things I have no control over. This is when I need to stop and just connect. And one of the best ways that I've used is my breath, right? Because your breath is your doorway in to just connect with yourself and connect your mind and your body, and just try to practice feeling gratitude, being grateful for all of, for having a roof over your head, for, being able to go outside and all the freedoms that we do have. There are so many other beautiful things that we can be grateful for. And being grateful, that state of being grateful, is one of the healthiest things that we could do for ourselves and for the ones around us. We talk about gene expression, right? When we have these emotions like anger and hate and frustration and fear, these upregulate our genes to give us these sicknesses and give us these illnesses. And in the opposite effect, as if we're feeling joy and gratitude and love, our genes are expressing health. And this is one of the most important concepts that I hope that you guys can get from this, is we control our health by our states of being. And if you feel like you don't have control over your state of being, you just need practice. That's all it is. This is a skill that you have to work on a daily basis. And every little frustrating things that happen, say your boss calls you and say that you have to come in an hour early, you could choose that to get frustrated and anger and annoyed. Or you could say, okay, first of all, I'm grateful I have a job. I'm grateful I can wake up. I'm grateful I can get up and, and move and earn money. But you can use that as a practice of being in control of your emotions. You use that as a practice of not getting frustrated, but, turning that frustration to joy. These things that happen to us, they're pretty indifferent. Nothing is really good or bad. It's just how we perceive them. If it's 95 degrees and you're sweating and you're miserable, it's not the heat that's bad. It's just your perception of heat that is making it feel bad. Some people love heat. I promise you, if you go to Antarctica, those people are just wanting to sweat.
Yeah.
And in the same way, it's simply our perception of things, and that's the beauty. We choose how we perceive things. Yes, it is a skill. Some people are better at it than others, based on how much they practice, but we choose how we feel, and we choose our health, and we choose these things by the people that we surround ourselves with, by the foods that we eat, by, just getting outside and breathing fresh air too.
Yeah, Will, wow. I think that message resonates beyond the scope of this webinar, because just this morning, I don't know if you follow Seth Godin. He's just a wonderful blogger, online marketer.
Seth Godin, I know who he is, right? Yeah. Okay. But I don't follow him. I think I've seen an interview on him about creativity.
Yeah, he's just amazing at storytelling. He's written several books on marketing, but he put out a blog this morning, and it's right along with what you said. If I can just read a short excerpt from there. He says, when you talk about your last job, your last vacation, the things that happened to you when you were 12, what do you lead with? Do you lead with, I broke my ankle that summer and rarely got out? Or is it, I stuck with my reading regimen and read all of Shakespeare? Because both are true. The top story is the one that informs our narrative, and our narrative changes our future. Yeah. So, man, that's right along lines of what you're saying, Will. That's awesome.
I remember as I was younger, I would always, my narrative would always try to make my situation more difficult, and it becomes extremely addictive because, I thought in my head, oh, this is going on, all these negative things. And then it made me feel good because I felt like I was still going to overcome them, and then I overcame something big when in actuality, I didn't overcome anything but my mind, but then if I can just block all that out and focus on the good things, then I'm really able to flourish because I'm not being held back by my own mental chatter, but I'm just diving into that moment, blocking all out and just doing the best I can in each moment. And then in the next moment, I'm just learning.
Yeah, I love that. Malaysia's in the house. Hello, Malaysia. I know we've got a couple of questions. Braden, welcome. I think Braden's been here every time along with several others. Thank y'all so much for the consistency. That's brilliant. Let me throw in a question from our friend Michael. He said, I heard somewhere recently something along the lines of meditation isn't where change is made. It's studying for the tests that we face every day. That is, it allows us in moments of choice to make a decision that helps us be better. What are your thoughts in addition to or modification of that idea?
Um, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So like, I, I believe meditation is the practice of being, right? Of, how well you're going to do absolutely everything, so it doesn't matter if it's a relationship for you're having a conversation, or if it's working in your job, or if it's exercising, or if it's every little thing. The more present you could be with whatever you're doing, the better you're going to do at it, the better you're going to feel, the happier you're going to be, and the healthier you're going to be as well. And meditation is just the practice of being present. But every moment throughout our day, if we're doing it right, would feel like a meditation. Okay. So brushing our teeth is just the act of being present. We're not just mindlessly brushing our teeth and thinking about what we're doing next. We're just focusing on the details and being in that moment and being in that gratitude of, from making food to eating breakfast to driving down the road. Meditation is just the practice of doing everything that you're doing better, right? And then, and the more present you could be in that moment, the better you're going to be in it. And, and that's kind of how I think of meditation, as well as meditation is also a really good cleaning aspect as well, to where like when you just sit with something and being that present moment, all the stuff that's in the way tends to come up, and then the more that you can sit with that, the more that you can understand it, let it go, let it flow, and let that shit settle down so you can get that clear perspective on being in that moment again.
Yeah, I firmly believe meditation is just a forceful way of making a stop so that in that presence we can have reflective experiences. Like I think is what Michael's talking to. I think we're all speaking the same language here, that it's not experience as our greatest teacher, it's evaluated experiences that prepare us for the next time. It's no different than the seasons that dictate life and death in your permaculture yard. You prepare for the season coming, right, Will? You prepare your soil, you get ready for plantings, you know what's coming, so therefore you prepare yourself for those events. So I think they go hand in hand, Michael. That's my.
But I mean, like, even in my yard, I don't prepare much. I just focus on building the soil, right? And that's the same thing in our life. Like when I think of preparing like that, I think of almost like a worry of like, okay, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, and this could happen. So how can I make sure that none of these things happen? And but we don't have control over all of these things, right? But what we do have control over is our own soil, right? So what I like to, in my preparation is just building myself, strengthening my own mind, strengthening my own health, building my own soil. So then whatever comes up, I'm able to adapt. Like I'm not stressing or worrying about something that I need to prepare for in the future, but I'm just building my base. I'm building what I'm capable of. I'm sharpening my own saw. So no matter what comes at me, I'm able to adapt. I'm able to overcome. I'm able to learn and grow and keep moving on forward. And then hopefully help another person that's along that same trail.
Yeah, clearly there are some foundational components that best prepare you for any challenge ahead, and those we have to pay attention to. So guys, this is a tremendous book that you will not read it just once, and you will have to flip back and go, whoa, wait a minute, that was pretty heavy. I need to read that chapter again. So Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. We messaged him today, didn't we, Will? We're going to try to get him on the show.
That would be so awesome to get Joe. I mean, man, he's helped me so much through a lot of my injuries. A lot of you guys know about the gnarly injuries that I went through with my knee. The doctor's telling me I may never walk again without pain. And that's when I really first found Joe Dispenza. And then around the same time, I was doing that Wim Hof breathing every single day, like practically religiously. And reading that book explained a lot of the science of what was going on with me during that time of the Wim Hof breathing. Because when I first started that, I had a really low vibration. I was just stuck in my own mind. I was stuck in my own struggles. I was stuck in my own past, and I was addicted to all of these negative emotions of anger and fear and frustration because it felt good. It feels good in that moment to be really angry because it's a really powerful chemical, right? But then, and we get addicted to these emotions that get stuck in our survival centers. And during that type of Wim Hof breathing, where I was focusing on, lifting my pelvic floor and breathing through my stomach and breathing that energy up, because all of this traumatic experiences that happen in our childhood of this anger, of this fear of, if it's sexual, if it's ego, if it's anything, it gets trapped into our survival centers in these 3 systems. And you can manually breathe through that and open that up and move that energy flowing so that energy gets released up your spinal cord into your brain so you're able to create the reality that you want. But so much of our energy is getting stuck based on, these, if it's sex, if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's food, if it's, not being able to get up and have the motivation, if it's our ego, if it's us trying to dominate. All of these negative things are our beautiful creativity energy trapped inside of these survival centers. And that type of Wim Hof breathing, I believe, is what broke those chains. That energy could start flowing through my mind, and I'm starting to see all of this energy that was trapped into my survival centers, able to release those, let those go. And now I have this extra energy to really devote towards things that I truly care about and that I'm truly passionate about. And then what I'm learning throughout this whole process is if I want a better world, if I want a better life, I have to contribute to my environment. We don't have much control over our environment, but we can contribute to our environment, and that makes our life better, and that makes us happier, and that makes us stronger. So what can we do as individuals to just help ourselves grow, but how can we improve our environment? How can we just help out the ones around us? And even if it's, our neighborhood, or building the soil, so my specific thing is, when I first moved into this house, the soil in the front and backyard were infertile. It was just bare sand and there was little life. And now I'm just building that soil. It's created so much life, the butterflies, the birds, and this increases the energy of the earth, the energy of the neighborhood, the energy of us. Everybody that comes into our house, they see the beauty, and that raises their vibration in the same way as if a really frustrated person lowers your vibration.
Yeah, you said a very important statement there. You created life where there was lifelessness. And I think that is what our higher power calls us to do. And that's why we're created in his image. Jim's asked, what other books have you read that have impacted your life or views recently? And I would throw out The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton.
I have not read that one.
Yeah, very similar to Joe Dispenza, I guess, in helping us become aware that we have a creation opportunity here. So his notion is that when you look at cellular structure and the function of individual cells, and you expand that out macro vision to us, we are no different than our 5 senses or the receptors on a cell surface, and we need to pay very close attention to what we let stick to those receptors and what gets transferred into our cells. So whether it's our mouth, whether it's our eyes, ears, nose, we need to be very careful, because all of that plays a role into kind of what Joe Dispenza is talking about, is the turning on of genes that are for our benefit or may not be.
And that's why something as simple as planting a garden and building the soil in your own dirt is one of the most beneficial things, because it's raising the vibrations of your environment. And when you're touching that soil and when you're touching that dirt, you're feeding the tiny microbiome and the microbiology that's inside your body of those, billions of different microorganisms and parasites and fungi and the bacteria that really is like 60-70% of our immune system, and it's actually like over 90% of us. We are actually more fungi than we are human being, so to improve the soil structure, because our gut is almost a mirror image of the water that we drink, the soil that we touch, the air that we breathe, and the emotions and connections that we have. So to improve those things will improve our health, and that upregulates our healthy genes.
And accept the wisdom that you have control of all of that you put in your pie hole, that can have a significant and substantial influence on your present health and your health to come.
Yes. So one quick thing, like if you're spraying any sort of chemicals in your yard, stop. Like just completely stop. If your landscaper is spraying any chemicals in your yard, because those chemicals are antibiotic. They're literally meant to kill the weeds and kill the bugs that, in the same way you're breathing that air, you're touching that soil, and that's killing those bacteria that's in your gut that fight for your health every single day. That makes our system sterile, and that sterileness, what we talk about all the time, is our lack of our immunity. We want to be touching the soil, but we want to be touching healthy soil. Like if you're got anything getting sprayed on your yard, stop spraying the yard. If you can, get the foods that are not being sprayed with the glyphosate, not being sprayed with Roundup. Roundup is literally one of the worst things right now that is killing all of our health, all of our rivers, all of our waters, our trees, our forests. Like it's killing the biology in our planet, which is killing the biology in us. And that's in our food, that's in our waters, that's in everything. So that's one little thing. And if you want to ask about a book, a really good book that I read is called The Nature Principle. And it just shows how we're literally connected to our environment, and we're from our environment. So by us just being in nature, if we're in a forest, in a park, going for a hike, or even having a little aloe vera plant just on our desk inside our house, that helps our vibration to rebalance and to realign with nature. So our mind's thinking better, our body's thinking better. We can be more present.
Yeah. So Will, these are clearly anxious times. And I know regardless of where you are on this planet, people are experiencing some degree of fear, anxiety, unrest, just general anxiety. Brian's asking, how do you, Will Grant, approach dealing with stress resulting from high pressure situations regularly faced in high stress jobs? So for example, dangerous situations, fast moving, changing environments, physically taxing environments that push you to your physical limits, not necessarily stress resulting from negative emotion, but stressed as a result of external environment. What's your MO?
You embrace it. Like the more you fight whatever's going on, the more stressful it becomes and the more inflammation that comes up too. You just have to let it be and embrace what is. It doesn't matter, if that's a high pressure situation, and your mind's going of what can go wrong and just drop the mental chatter and just embrace what is and just do the best you can in that moment. That is the only thing you could do, is the best you can do. And past that is just chatter that's bringing you down. So it doesn't matter what the type of stress is. What I've noticed is stress comes from, it's like this resistance of us fighting what is, right? So for example, if you work in the medical field and all these crazy things are going at you, you have to do this and all this stress, like you have to just, you can fight it and say, oh my God, this is going crazy. What's going on? I don't know if I can handle this. Or you could just drop all that, let it go, and just do what you can do. Focus on what you can do. And that is probably the most powerful piece of advice I've ever gotten, probably from my big brother, that said, only focus on what you can control. Past that, that's what causes stress. Just let it be. Embrace what it is. It doesn't matter if it's hot, it doesn't matter if it's cold, it doesn't matter if it's going fast or it's going slow. Embrace what is, get into that rhythm and just do the best you can, focusing on what you can control.
Yeah, Brian, I guess I would remember back to that little passage we just read from Seth Godin. What story is it that you're wanting to tell from being in that environment? Is it one of this is absolute chaos and pandemonium and I don't know what's going to happen? Or is it one that will suggest that, the outside environment is crazy, but you know what? I am not. And I would even argue, Will, that we are not logical beings. We are very emotional beings. So in response to our environment, we need to understand, why is it getting to me? Why am I feeling this way? Rather than maybe not try to change the environment, change you.
And these things are opportunities,
Yeah.
like a chaotic, crazy external environment is the way that we practice and train being calm and being in control. A stressful environment is how we practice being calm and being healthy, and I believe that these things are put into our lives to strengthen something that needs to be strengthened, right? Like if you're noticing this stress, if you're noticing this resistance, that's a good opportunity to stop and say, okay, what one do I have that can overcome this? What is innately in me? What can I do that can overcome this? Focus on that. And then two, be grateful for that experience. Because I promise you, I know at least in my life, the most stressful, worst, awful, miserable times in my life has built me my greatest attributes. Like this awesome quote that blew my mind that I heard from Joe Dispenza was, what if the worst thing that ever happened to you was the reason that the best thing ever happened to you? You know what I mean? I might have butchered that a little bit, right?
That's all right. That's all right.
But that's how it is. Usually the worst things that happen to us are like, that's that moment to train and to strengthen us to become the best versions of ourselves. And everything that is a challenge to us, that's an opportunity to stop and say, hey, look, the universe gave me this opportunity to overcome and evolve. And now next time this is going to be easier. So stress is not all bad. Stress, it can and is a good thing. There's two types of stress, and there's the type of stress that makes us adapt and overcome and to grow and evolve. And that's the stress that, when that's coming in, we want to turn it into that type of stress.
Yeah, and I would say maybe there's only one type of stress. It's a negative energy, and we have two responses. We have two perspectives, or maybe even more perspectives.
Like, we just have to remember that we are in control, and the more we practice that control, the better we'll get at being in control. Every single day, every single moment is an opportunity to wake up and to train to be better tomorrow. Like every difficult situation for, if that's an exercise or if that's a stressful thing at work, it's just an opportunity to become better for ourselves, to become better for our occupation, whatever team we're on, to become better for our kids, to become better for our spouse. Don't avoid these stressful situations, embrace them and understand what is the stress, embrace that, know what it is and say, look, this is my opportunity. If this is crazy, chaotic, this is my opportunity to practice being calm, or if I'm bored, like this is my opportunity to, practice the opposite,
Yeah, it might be your greatest teacher. I mean, all my favorite authors like Ryan Holiday, John Maxwell, all talk about once you move past fear, which I think a lot of anxiety and environmental response is related to some innate fear that we have. Right beyond that fear is growth. So we must face anxiety, feel that, but not become a victim to it, but press through, because on the other side of it is something amazing.
I remember I went through this time, it was probably like 6 to 8 months. I might have been reading a book called Mindfulness in Plain English. Really good book. I couldn't even dream to pronounce the author's name, but it's called Mindfulness in Plain English. And that's what first made me realize that everything that was causing stress into me was putting a spotlight on some weakness within myself, right? So then when I was going throughout my day, every time I started to notice my energy changing, right? Any single time. So say if something would happen and I would get frustrated, I would stop and just look right into that, right? Because what I used to do when I was younger is when I would get a negative thought or a negative emotion, I would do my best, oh, no, 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 and just try to think something else, right? And then it just got more deeper and more rooted and more deeper and more rooted, and it was a constant battle. But then when I started to get this negative thought and I just stopped and embraced it and and faced it head on of like, okay, why am I afraid? What am I afraid of? And then 95% of the time, it took me to some instance in my childhood of what, made this happen. But every single time that we do get frustrated or we do get upset or we do get sad or we do get something, we have to stop and we have to look and be present with that and analyze, okay, what is the lesson that I'm supposed to get out of this, right? Because all of these hurdles, all these challenges, they're going to keep coming back unless we get the lesson that they're meant to give us.
Yeah, Michael's saying that reminds me of the tree metaphor. A tree doesn't move with the breeze. Oh, if a tree doesn't move with the breeze, it snaps. It doesn't ignore the wind, and it embraces it and
I love that.
let it pass. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
But then again, a tree has those nice strong roots, and the stronger the tree is, the stronger those roots are, and the more those roots can really connect. But that part where the environment going, it's flowing with it. It's flowing with the environment, but it has its roots firmly planted in the earth.
Take care of your soil, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for the questions. Those are awesome. Keep them coming. Let's see. Braden, Brian, Cristiano, they're all still here, Will. So that's what you've been pouring into yourself. I think that is how you fill the tank during these tumultuous times. I love the books that you're choosing. Those certainly have my mind spinning.
And the times are crazy right now. Like everything seems chaotic. Everything seems like, but guess what? You're not in control. Like you're not in control. So the more that you can realize that and let that go and just sit back and be the observer of it, the better and happier and healthier that we're going to be. What's up, Joe Martinez? But yeah, so like this is a chaotic time. We have to just focus on what we control, and that's ourselves and our closest environment. And that's why we need to just constantly focus on raising our vibrations by gratitude, by love, by joy, by improving the foods that we eat, because the foods that we eat are a huge aspect to controlling our vibration and our gut and our mood and our health. Like our mood is almost completely determined on our gut health. So if you're like most of the time, if you're struggling with anxiety or struggling with stress, a lot of times just by improving your diet, improving your nutrition, by lowering your processed foods, lowering your packaged foods, lowering your sugar, improving your vegetable intake, you're going to feel better emotionally. You're going to feel better chemically. You're going to feel better physically. And then that's going to get that ball rolling and build that momentum and get those dominoes falling.
So, Will, we have a question from Cristiano. Are you familiar with the term ableism? It's like racism. It's one of those terms. Have you ever heard of ableism? It's
No.
discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. So Cristiano's asking, he's a huge fan. Will, he knows you've had ADHD. He's asking you, how do I deal with ableism? As a person with autism and ADHD, I have people projecting this idea of an unabled person. So in workplaces, for instance, he often has been belittled, ridiculed, and passed off as a downtrodden outcast. He's had to learn to stay out of victimhood and call it out, but it still hurts, especially when he stutters or shakes when anxious and people negatively comment. What are your experiences with that kind of treatment of people?
Well, There's a few things. I had one of the gnarliest stutter problems as a kid as well, and it was one of the most frustrating things. But you have to understand that these people who are putting that energy off to you, that has nothing to do with you. They're seeing you, and whatever they're saying to you that's negative is just a reflection in themselves, because what we perceive in the world is just a mirror of what's going on inside. Okay, so those people who are perceiving you as something unable, they're just trying to make themselves feel better. And you have to understand that that's all that is. All those people trying to put you down, that has nothing to do with you as much as it really all has to do with them, right? But then in the same instances, what we perceive of how we're perceiving those things, that's our challenge of how we can improve. Because remember, we're only focusing on what we can control. We can't control the people in our workplace that are battling their own demons and they're putting other people around down, or putting people around them down, because that's their own demons and we don't really have control over them. We can only just give them love and good energy, right? But we have to just kind of block that out and just focus on what we can do to improve our own ability to stay calm and stay present and stay in control. So if we're getting the shakes, if we're getting anxious, if we're having struggle with our intention, when these things come up, like, that's the beautiful thing of it. That's the universe giving you these opportunities, just like I'm saying, giving you these opportunities to overcome and to over adapt and to put a spotlight on what you can work on. But in the same time, you have to remember that their perceptions of you are only dealing with them. That's not you. You are beautiful and perfect in every single way, it's our job of every single day to perceive and to observe in our environment of little tricks of what we can do to improve ourselves. And the more that we can improve ourselves, then that's going to bring up other people around. Because if they see you taking care of yourself, then they're going to notice, hey, whoa, I do have a good part in me. I don't have to bring everybody else down around me. And that's how this beautiful energy system works. We're just this thing of soup, like, our ego wants us to think that we're different, that I'm here, you're there, and all this, we're seeing and perceiving the world in separation. But, I like to think of this world, we're just this one big soup. And there might be this invisible air that's separating me and you, but we're still breathing the same air and we're still, using the same energy. So you have to understand that those people who are hurting deep within themselves, they're going to be projecting that towards whoever's around them, and you just happen to be there, right? So, but in the same way, for you, you can see all of that, and you can perceive all of that, and you can improve yourself and overcome yourself and adapt yourself, and that's going to help them, bring them around them. And by you giving them good energy, showing them love, showing them gratitude, because you should be grateful for these challenging experiences. And when you can dip into that, I know it's not easy, but when you can dip into that, that's what's going to help them feel better, which is going to treat you a little bit better, and it's going to make you feel a little bit better. And then that's how we can all come up as that team, as that group, as that community, and as the species.
Yeah, Cristiano, I would say, that is your opportunity to build your soil. I mean, if that external environment is creating something within you, it is a gift. And remember, you can lead with one of two stories: that I feel bad and I am disabled, or I'm a beautiful, unique soul and have tremendous opportunity and giftedness to create in this world. And lead with that story, and then show people grace. I mean, there are so many people hurting out there. You're not the only one. Just because you have a label or a category, so does everybody else.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put any energy or any thought into any diagnosis.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you got autism, ADD, it's completely irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, just block that out, and just, like, when someone says negative things to me, I always take two things from it. One is I try to practice that compassion of, like, okay, wow, this person's really hurting, right? because if they're trying to make other people hurt, I promise you they're the ones that are hurting the most. Okay. And then two, it's like I try to think, okay, this is a challenging time for me. What's the lesson that can be learned through this? What is the lesson of like, okay, I don't have control over how he feels, but how can I improve myself that can make him feel better next time?
Yeah, I've heard it said that only hurt people hurt people. So I think that's something
And I
else
know
we're in
that from
control of is
experience
grace.
because I know in my earlier years, I hurt a lot of people. I mean, I did a lot of awful things to a lot of awful people, and it's because I was hurting so much. Like I remember one of my good friends now, he came from Brazil to live and to race. And he's one of the top athletes in the whole entire sport. He's one of the most elite athletes. And he came and stayed at my house. And now that we're friends, and he asked me one time, he said, "Yo, he might have had a few glasses of wine at this point too, and it was just me and him. And he asked me, why were you such a dickhead to me? Why were you putting me down? Like, why were you making me feel so bad? Like, why were you making fun of me? Because, like he was struggling learning English and I just made it really difficult for him, and I'd make fun. Like, I was just not a good person. I had a low vibration where I was putting down the people around me because I was hurting, and that's what I simply had to tell him. I said, look, that had nothing to do with you. I was just doing that because I was in pain and I was hurting. Like, it had nothing to do with any shortcomings that you have, but it had everything to do with I was in so much pain, and that pain was being projected towards anything that was in my environment. And that was something that it was a beautiful experience that we just went through in that, because it almost just felt this instant of relief that lifted from both of us, and, a part of him almost wasn't even satisfied because he was looking for something in himself that he could put down of like, yo, why were you being so mean to me? And he was looking for himself, but we have to realize that it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe's got a great question. Are there any foods you recommend that kind of help reduce anxiety, just to be kind of a supplement to your mindful practice?
Yeah, 100%. Vegetables. Like, we know the answer. Like, you got to eat plants, man. You got to eat your spinach, your kale, your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli. Those are the greens. Greens are really good at getting the toxins out. And, the toxins is kind of what holds us back in a lot of ways. But we really want to be focusing on the other colors, like, carrots and cabbage or red cabbage. We got beets. Just focus on a diverse of different vegetables. Turmeric is one of the best. Ginger. Let me see what I can think of. Onions, banana peppers, mushrooms. Mushrooms are one of the most best things that you can do, because if you think about what mushrooms and fungi tends to do, it's really powerful at detoxifying, on getting rid of what's dying and what's not serving you to breed new life of what's gonna serve you. So yeah, really focus on plants, because these plants are our medicine, and I'm not 100% vegan, or, but I am plant-based. And what I mean plant-based is the base of my diet are plants, right? But, I do eat meat, but when I do eat meat, I make sure it's, if I'm eating from a chicken, that chicken lived a chicken life. It lived a happy, healthy life. It's not being pumped with antibiotics or hormones or steroids. It's picking in the grass, it's eating bugs, it's eating this. But, it's really difficult to actually find quality meat. But that's why I just focus on vegetables and high quality whole foods. Nuts and seeds are really good too. But the best possible way to improve all of that is grow your own food. If you grow your own food, it's connected with the soil. It doesn't have the chemicals, and that's going to align your microbiology with the microbiology of your environment. And that's when you're going to feel more connected to the things around you. And that's when you're going to feel more present and better about everything that you're doing.
Yeah, I think sometimes due to bad habits, we choose the wrong comfort food in order to satisfy, an errant receptor in our brain. So remember, sugars, starches, those are pro-inflammatory and can make anxiety a lot worse. So stay away from sugar.
Yeah, yeah. Sugar is really like it is our biggest addiction. Like we are all completely addicted to sugar. And it's one of our biggest downfalls to our health, to our happiness, to everything. You know, I'm not telling you to not have sugar. Like I promise you, if I go to dinner tonight and if there's a cookie there, I'm gonna eat it. You know what I mean? I love cookies, but I'm not gonna buy cookies to have them at my house. Okay. You know, and that is the big difference is try not to bring any of the negativity into your environment, right? But if you go out and something happens, enjoy the cookie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Will, some people are saying they have to go. You think we should land this plane? Is there another topic you wanted to cover?
I mean, if there's something else that we can talk about, or if you guys have any more questions, I'm in no rush to end. You know, I'm enjoying my time here. You know, but if there's no questions, I'm ready to land the plane if you are.
Here is, okay, now people are asking some questions. Here we go. So Cristiano's asking again, great advice. Thanks so much. Much appreciated. Would you say tattoos help boost your self-image? I feel they have helped me so much. Tell me about body art and motivation.
Um, I don't think it's that important, like if it makes you feel good, that's okay. But I don't think it's, I try to focus less on the ego and what I look like and what this and that, like it's good, but I think focus more on internal things, and that's what's going to make you really feel good of, not just the ink that you put on your body, but the foods that you put in your body and the emotions that you have and the relationships that you have and just getting outside and breathing fresh air. I think that's going to do a lot better for you than a tattoo, because I feel like a tattoo is just covering something. Like a tattoo tends to just cover your skin and, instead of really embracing who you are and what really is, and I say that because, I have a lot of tattoos, and during my tattoos, I was really dealing with a lot of pain covering things up.
Interesting. Fascinating. An anonymous question. When you notice your vibration is lowering, how do you move toward a better mood? So let's talk about flipping the narrative. Let me give you an example. I think Tony Robbins is a master at this, because anybody who's been to a Tony Robbins event, or if you've ever seen one on TV, the man can talk for a very, very long time. And from the stage, he knows when the energy level is dropping. And if you've been to a live event, there will be multiple points in his presentation where he stops and he starts clapping loudly, just really loudly. Totally changes in an instant the energy in that room. And then boom, he carries on with his narrative. But he recognizes and anticipates that the mood is going to drop, and he does something energetic to change the energy. What do you think about that?
I think that is amazing. I never heard that, but that's so awesome, because one of the best things that we could do, like if we're sitting down and we're stressed, is just get up and move the body and turn the spine and get that blood flowing and get that energy going. The single best thing that you could do, and this is my favorite thing to do, walk out your front door and just walk around the block. Take 2 laps around the block. Get moving and get breathing, right? Just connect to those 2 things, and that's going to just bring you back to here and right now. And all of the stress and all the anxiety, that's in the past or that's in the future. But here right now is where we deal with those things, is where we overcome those things. So when we notice that, first of all, be grateful and pat yourself on the back, because that is an act of mindfulness and awareness that is the first amazing and sometimes the most difficult step, is just to be aware when your mood and vibration does go down. Like that's the hardest thing, because a lot of us are just completely unaware. Our moods and vibrations are going chaotic all day, and we just think that we are our thoughts, and that's the roller coaster of life. But that's not true, so just to be aware of, okay, my moods getting pretty negative. I need to do something. That's beautiful right there. And then one of the best things that I've found, and the best things that I know about, is breath and movement. Go for a walk, connect with your breath, close your mouth. unless you're going to do a round of Wim Hof breathing, which is really, really good too. And that's a 100% maximum exertion where you're taking in 30 of the biggest breaths you can, let it all out, and then hold for as long as you can. And that is one of probably the most powerful things that you could do. Go for a walk, connect with your breath, or do some Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah, brilliant. To give you
It
another,
raises your energy, all of it.
Yeah, to give you another Tony Robbins story, I watched a documentary on him one time, and sometimes the stage lights are so bright, he can't see the audience, and it bothers him to such a degree because he is so in tune with the audience's energy that there has to be a flashing light above the stage that his team can tell him the mood is dropping so he can do the clapping and energy change. So it's true what you say. Sometimes you need a cue or an accountability buddy to go, hey man, let's change that.
And that's why our environment is so important. If you got a roommate, like I'm so grateful to have a roommate who is just A+ human being, so like if I'm sitting there with bad posture, he's like, yo, what's up, Nick? You know what I mean? So like he'll say something kind of funny or something, friendly to just make me more aware. So like we could use our friends and use our family to kind of team up and like, look, if somebody points something out to you, don't get offended. Realize that's your ego trying to, fight to be, what you were in the past, but to let that go and just to, oh, okay, thank you, and use your friends and use your family to be aware of like when you are noticing that your energy's going low, hope that your friend or family tells you, hey, I think you're better than what you're being right now.
Yeah, I love that. Jim's asking a question. Do you have any toxic relationships or toxic people you need to deal with in everyday life? And if so, what do you do to not let it bother you or weigh on your day?
Yeah, so there are toxic people in all of our lives, right? And I'll give you, I actually might have talked to you about this a little bit. I was at an event last weekend, and I'm trying not to give any names or any specifics, but I was at an event and I was really trying to do something good, right? And the person who was in control of part of that event was very toxic, didn't like me, was really just stuck in his ego, wants to, do his thing the way he wants to do it. And we got into this thing where I felt like it was a battle all of a sudden. And what I did was exactly what we talked about, and because I felt my emotions, I wanted to go there and really tell him how I feel and maybe put my foot in his mouth, right? And that's my first reaction of like how I felt is like, oh, I'm going to put my foot in this guy's mouth. I'm walking right up to him, but then I stopped and said, whoa, that's not going to be good. Like that doesn't serve my intention. That doesn't serve my purpose. This can be a good thing. Like, let me stop for a second, right? So I stopped, and then I just stopped and I genuinely said, first of all, I'm grateful for this challenge, right? Because I know, if I'm truly trying to evolve into this person that I want to be, I have to overcome this. I have to be better than this. So first of all, I'm grateful for the universe putting these challenging people in my life to pinpoint some weakness that I have, because that's all it's doing, right? Because that's all it's doing. And then I stopped and, I wanted to be grateful. And then I wanted to understand what's my true intention of this. And then I went and I shook his hand and I apologized for everything that he felt like I did him wrong, right? And then then it took away this barrier that he had against me of not wanting to hear anything I say, but just telling me to do what he wants. When I just said, look, man, I'm sorry, dude. I know you got so much going on, and I know that, you got your own problems to deal with, and I'm coming up to you, giving you more problems, man, and I'm sorry, I don't want to battle, dude. Let's work together. Like, how can we make this work, And then, and then I use this as an opportunity of understanding, of growth, to like learning how to deal with people, because these toxic people, they are in our lives, and we don't, and if we have control, we want to avoid toxic people, right? But there's going to be a million instances, like in our job, where we're going to be around toxic people. And those are the opportunities to build our strength, to build our calmness, to build our presence, and to build ourselves. And when we build ourselves, it's just going to raise their vibration to all of a sudden, your goal is to make these toxic people want you to win. Right? So like, how can you get these toxic people on your side to where then all of a sudden they're wanting you to win? And then that's when you raise your vibration, their vibration's raising, and they're wanting you to win, and then you guys both win. And that's how to realize that those toxic people are not just another person, like they're mirroring something that you're seeing, right? They're mirroring a weakness inside of you, and that this is an opportunity to realize that we are one and the same. If you help them out, you're going to help yourself out. So these toxic people are opportunities to not only find the limitations within yourself, but to find an opportunity to hopefully help them. And then that's going to help out your overall intention.
Yeah. And I think a common mistake that we make is that we've got to change that toxicity, that we must use our influence to do something to change them in the moment. And I think that's where we make a mistake, because it becomes more about us dominating that rather than having the grace and understanding that, this is a sign pointing back at me. Let me do something with that for me, not for them, because they're the only ones that can change their circumstances. Yeah. And I would also remind everybody that you have a choice. Remember, proximity is power, that you have the choice to stay there in that toxicity or not. Yeah. So awesome. We've got some other questions coming in. Thank you, Jim, for that question. That was awesome. This is Cristiano again, that he is really beyond physical aesthetics. Let me reread the question. I see so beyond physical aesthetics, the pursuit of mental aesthetics and the ability to find your vibration, I think for him is more important. Why is there so much pressure on defining moods, yet not on vibration? So it seems young people today are more focused on materialism than internal growth. Where do you think that's coming from, Will?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's just the path of least resistance. You know what I mean? Of like, people are not taking control over their own energy, so everything around them is taking control over their energy. And so then we become a victim of our desires, instead of creators of our reality.
Yeah, you're validated by external rather than internal, like you just said.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But what I've realized is like 80-90% of people are going to be doing it wrong. Like it's up to the 10% who are going to overcome their external circumstances and to really make real change. And then that's what makes that 90% really evolve and really change, because we've been evolving for a long time and we are improving. We are improving. I know it sounds and it seems crazy now, but it wasn't, but what, 70 years ago where we were hanging people in the street for the color of their skin. So like we are improving. We still have a long way to go. I'm not saying we're perfect. We're so far from perfect, but we are evolving. There was times, 500 years ago where we would, kill somebody for anything. Like life was just very, very unimportant. And but we are going in the right direction and we are evolving, and that's, I guess, my belief, I guess you could say. But the only control we have is what we have control over ourselves, and like, it's hard to say why things are the way they are, but they are the way they are, and we just have to observe what they are and do the best we can with each day.
What story are you going to lead with? That should be the first question you ask yourself.
Yeah. And where you put your focus, where you put your energy is where you put your focus is where you put your energy. So don't put your focus on everything that's going wrong unless you want to, go against everything that's going wrong. But put your focus on things that are going right to get more stuff that's going right.
Yeah, it might be a focus to change your environments. Yeah. So anyway, one more question, Will. How do you stick to a busy schedule and stay fully present? I think that's a common problem that we all have. Busy, busy, busy. yet I need to have some sense of grounding and footing. Is it
Yeah.
a system, a process, or a
Yeah.
cue? What is it?
Well, there's two things. One is it's really hard not to get busy, 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 but that's the practice. We want to really be doing less. Okay. So, really, first, if you're busy, 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 stop and think, what can I do without? What do I need to do? What is really serving me? You know, like what is the 20% stuff that is giving me the 80% of joy and happiness? And then what is the 80% of BS that is just making me busy and crazy that's not really serving any of my intentions or purposes? And then first just go on a hard cut, a hard eliminating factor of eliminating all the BS that you're doing throughout the day that's not serving you, that's not doing anything good for you. And a lot of that is just mental chatter. Okay. And then two, for the stuff I do have to do, I use this book, right? So me specifically, what I like to do is every single night before I go to bed, I like to review my day of what went really well, what didn't go so well, and how can I improve the next day. And then I will kind of schedule my day the night before. I'll write out, just the top 2 or 3 things that I'm going to accomplish tomorrow that are going to move me forward towards the direction that I want to go. And then, I'll put up my my checklist of, all the things that I have to get done throughout the day. So then my mind's not always trying to remember what I have to do because what I have to do is written down. So then while I'm actually doing those things, while I'm actually checking those boxes, I can just be fully present in that moment. So for example, I'll read you my schedule of what I wrote. So this morning, from 7:30 to 8, I was going to be on the mat, okay, just breathing and meditating and moving and doing some sort of yoga of getting that blood flow and oxygen, setting my time. And then during that time, I don't have to remember what I'm having to do next. I'm just in that present moment because I already wrote from 8 to 9, I'm going to be doing my physical therapy workout, because I just had that shoulder surgery, I'm building my shoulder strength. And then from 9 to 10, I'm going to be reading. And then from 10 to 11, I'm going to film, so I'm getting above myself and outside of myself a day before and say, okay, if I had my employee to do all of the work that I had to do tomorrow, what would he do? Right? And then I'm writing all of that down. And then the next day when I'm in that moment, I can just be in that moment because I have my, my criteria or my schedule of what I got to do. So during that moment, I don't have to think. I can just be and create and be in that moment.
Yeah, busy for me, I find, is when I do not have clarity or focus on the direction I'm traveling. So
glad.
I am going around in circles, taking care of a lot of stuff, and that builds anxiety because I don't feel like I'm moving forward. So for me, very similar to you, Will, I'm very intentional with how I structure my day. I am the creator of that day. So I know things are going to come along that might not knock me off track, but I have to calendarize it in order to prioritize. Calendarize to prioritize. If it's not in my calendar, it's not a priority for me, and I'm not going to get stuck being busy.
Yeah, and a really powerful book, if you're wanting to read more into that, is The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. Have you ever read that one?
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
I cannot believe you haven't read that book.
I know.
The Effective Executive, it just tells you like how to be extremely effective with your time and energy to actually get not just get things done, but get the right things done. And then this prevents you from being busy. Like we actually have to schedule out our nothing times, because if we're busy and we're frantically going and, things aren't clarified, like we have to, like I schedule out times that I meditate. I schedule out my times that I'm journaling, and that's my most important time scheduled is because that's what's going to make sure that I'm not just going through, the motions of my day, but I'm actually getting the right things done. And like you have to schedule sometimes practice of happiness and practice of presence. Because if not, that's how our external environments tend to take over our lives.
Yeah, rebuild that into your day. Be intentional with the reminder. Set a reminder, an alarm in your phone.
Happiness doesn't just happen randomly based on, oh, I'm born happy or I'm born not happy. You know, it's based on us being intentional and, you know, with our time and with our energy.
Absolutely. All right. We just went through those questions. Thank you, guys. Oh, we got another one. Excellent advice, guys. Um, so, Will, the tattoos on your fingers, what do they mean? What do you, oh, and he also wants to know, what do you put in your superfood smoothies on YouTube?
Okay.
Great question.
Um, I've actually never told anybody this in depth, but um, my hands say "Save my soul," and I have a, you know, a roaring lion on my hand, and I got this at a time where I knew I was at a low time, but it was on this transformational time to where, like, look, I'm gonna become all I can be. Okay, you know, and I'm gonna do everything I can because I purposely did it on my hands to make sure that I can't turn back and just go get a job. That I'm fully committed into this of like I'm going to create my own reality. I'm going to be the lion in the jungle. I'm going to, you know, be the determining factor of my life, and I'm going to, you know, become all I can be in my life and in my environment. And I knew during that path it was going to be a difficult one of temptations and this and that, and I just, you know, a quick little intention of hope of save my soul through all this of like, look, you know, I hope to keep my soul and keep my goodness and keep my being through all this and not lose myself in all of the things that are easily to get lost in, you know, because you know, if I'm going to step out front, if I'm going to take the lead of my life and I'm going to step out and, you know, and be the lion and be the leader, you know, I know that there's going to be, like I said, temptations to bring me down and temptations to go down the wrong path of being selfish and being ego of like, you know, I want to remind myself that, you know, to save my soul through all this, you know, that, you know, it's more, you know, it's more deeper than what it seems.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. I did not know that about you, Will.
Yeah, I've actually don't think I've ever told anybody that.
Wow, great
You know,
question.
I think people just think, oh, it's a cool tattoo on the hand. But yeah, that was my intention through it of like, look, I'm really going to go for being the lion in the jungle, man. And, you know, let's do this and let's do it right. And as far as what my super smoothie is, it's always changing based, you know, and that's important. You know, if you put the same 4 ingredients in your smoothie, it's going to bring an imbalance in the same way as if you do the same movements every day, it's going to bring an imbalance. So it changes every day based on one is what is available at the grocery store. Two, what is in my refrigerator. And three, what is available in my yard. Okay. And that's what, you know, is constantly changing the ingredients. So the ingredients that are normally coming from my yard are papaya, moringa, and katuk. Papaya is one of the most beneficial fruits that you can do for your gut and your digestive enzymes and to help fight off cancer as well. And if you can grow it yourself, if you live in a subtropical or tropical region, grow it yourself because it's so much better. And then katuk and moringa are just a really medicinal leaf. And then, you know, the stuff that I get at the grocery store are stuff like turmeric. Turmeric is really good for your joints and for your brain. Beets are really good for blood flow and nitric oxide, especially if you're an athlete. That's something you definitely want to be getting, or everybody should be having beets. Beets are really good. Spinach, kale, ginger. Ginger is really good for cleaning the body out. Carrots. So literally my goal is I just try to find what are the most nutritious fruits that you can eat raw, and I'll put them in the blender. I'll blend them up. And then, so it changes, but I look for just rich nutrients, rich nutrients.
Brilliant. Great
Oh,
question.
and what's a little trick that makes it taste? Oh, because we do want to be chewing this, because if we just drink it without chewing, you know, we want to activate our gut enzymes by chewing, and that's the first process of digestion. So chewing kind of lets our body know that, you know, it's going to have some work to do. And and bananas are really good in there as well. Bananas and blueberries and strawberries, those are really good. And a little trick, and this is not the best trick if you're trying to lose weight or super strict, but if you're an athlete or wanting to gain weight or gain muscle, to pour that super smoothie over a bowl of oats or granola. is absolutely delicious. It adds in that extra, I'm not big on grains. A lot of you guys know I'm not big on grains, but now that I'm training all the time, I can't consistently be losing weight because I'm putting out a ridiculous amount of calories a day because I'm training for events coming up. So I need that extra calories. So I've been pouring my super smoothies over some oats or some granola, and it's delicious.
Great answer, Will.
On a real thing, but the reason why I'm not big on oats as much and I'm not big on granola is because those tend to be sprayed with a lot of glyphosate. Glyphosate is the Roundup, and that's the chemicals that kill your gut microbiome, which I'm not a fan of, obviously. So I try to limit my grains.
Excellent. We have emptied the queue, Will. No more.
And that's, I'm sorry, one last thing that just popped up.
One last thing. That's all you get, Will.
And that's it. And that's why so many of us are actually gluten intolerant, because of just the toxicity in our gluten, in our grains, because it's being sprayed with chemicals. And I try not to buy the stuff because that is, in my opinion, the way we actually vote is by what we buy and what we consume. So I try to focus on buying the organic, the whole foods, and that's what helps the planet, helps us, and that's our voting process.
Excellent. That's it, Will. Let's land this plane. Is there anything you want to give away this week? How did people do last week?
Oh, so check this out. Yeah, I am. I have, what was her name? I think it was Carrie. She is getting the course from last week. But this week, because I'm back on Instagram, for those of you guys who do not know, my Instagram got hacked just right before I got to 100K. It got hacked. Got no more Instagram. I'm back at like 500 now. So go follow me on Instagram. And I want you guys to tag me in your post of you getting outside, you improving your health, you doing but all the stuff that we're talking about. I want you to post a picture of you taking those action steps and tag me on Instagram. And I'm going to find the person who's been tagging me and doing the most. And I'm going to give them my free course, my Happy, Healthy, Strong in 6 weeks. For those of you guys don't know, I have my stable course where I put all of my greatest habits, my routines, my workouts, all that stuff to help us become happier, healthier, and stronger, and to step into our potential every single day. And I want to give that course away for free to one person who's putting in the work on growing themselves and posting it on their Instagram and tagging and shouting me out. And I'm going to give one person that course. So get in on that Instagram, share the insights of the stuff that we're learning here, inspire the people who are following you. It doesn't matter if you got 20 followers or 20,000, show them the good things that you're doing, raise your vibration to raise up the vibration of your audience and your followers, because we all have a network. We all have, if it's the 20 people that follow us on Instagram, or if it's the 10 people in our family, share the good things that you're doing so they're inspired to do good things. Keep your thoughts and your words positive so their thoughts and their words become positive.
Yeah, share this replay with the people in your network and the people.
If you share this replay, because this will be on YouTube within the next 24 hours. If you share this replay on your story, you're definitely getting bonus points. You might win the course right there.
There you go. There you go. And if you want to help someone else, invite them to the show. Why not?
Because we're back next Thursday.
Yeah, it's always on Thursday. Always on Thursday. Awesome, Will. Well, I will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, right?
That sounds good, man. I'll see you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming, and go out and raise the vibration to raise the vibration of others.
There you go. Be well, my friend. Peace out.
Thank you.